restricting large chunks of funding for capital improvements on any of the state highways or even the major local roads the chances are not good in the foreseeable future.
I just want to have some real. I don't say we stop.
No.
We carry on as hard as we can, but I just think there needs to be some realism about this. The people think, oh, we just need to snap our figures and the money's going to come up. I think we've got to be realistic about that. The heavy battle we've got, you look at Pukeroa Bay and Paikaka, it's never been improved for 40 years I've been on it. And it's on State Highway 1, in a major capital, and a national disgrace. Everybody can see it.
Just a,
Grossly underengineered.
Thank you. I just have another question here in regard to rail, and on page 11 you do make reference, or there is reference made to, I suspect, the submitter's view of the State Highway 2 Eastdale Portorino changing the rail corridor to road, assuming rail doesn't go ahead.
Yeah.
It's not very clear here what that actually means, and I'm just wondering whether and not that we can change too much here probably, seeing it's been through a hearing process, but I'm just wondering why that's not part of an addition of activities to the Regional Land Transport Plan, meaning if rail was stopped or was, was over, I think is the word I'm looking for, why, there is no connection to exploring this road option further. Is that deliberate, or is that an oversight?
It basically was put in there to flag it as a future option to be progressed if we were absolutely stymied on the rail issue.
Thank you. No,
and
that makes sense.
To do it at a fairly high level as a pre-feasibility study. Incidentally, if anyone's interested in this, I'll get some copies circulated around.
Thank you. Okay, let's keep going around the table. Councillor Pipe and then Councillor Scott.
Yeah, look, I'm pleased to see on the priorities, this is on page 21, the Hawke's Bay Expressway, Pakawhai and Links Road intersection. That's an important one. But also down number 8, of course, we've got Watchman Road and the Hawke's Bay Airport intersection. Now, it generates a lot of talk. I mean, people look at that intersection and it's there's already been accidents there, but it's an accident waiting to happen.
Yes.
So
that's
those two intersections. They are high volume. I know they kept the speed down. That brought the speed down on that one. But how far away are we from seeing that?
Well, Watchman, that's in the fairly well advanced in planning process.
Yes.
And there's provision for construction funding, isn't there?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we had a technical meeting yesterday, and the State Highway Projects Engineer reported that they are hoping to kick off formal design work in the next financial year. So it will, as long as it's funded, it will be constructed during the next 3 years.
Just to follow up there, so that involves obviously the Hawke's Bay Airport and a new entrance, so it's going to basically close that entrance where it is currently, and so bring a new entrance off Watchman Road. Is that the correct one?
Yes, I think that's all to be decided as part of that design process. And through you also, Mr. Chair, they do have to wait for the funding to be confirmed. So, but that's the plan. It is definitely a priority.
We are talking about a roundabout at that.
Probably, but not necessarily. We don't know what the solution will be at this stage. I guess NZTA will be throwing some ideas around, and they're consulting with the airport and with Napier City, and will keep us informed. But that is the top of the new priorities in this plan. And incidentally, the Walk to Links Road roundabout and Napier Road roundabout, ideally construction will start in this upcoming construction season. The only hold up at this stage is that there was a designation process that handled by a RMA commissioner, which seems to be taking an interminable period of time. But hopefully that'll pop out with a positive answer very soon. In the meantime too, and it's not in this plan because it doesn't require subsidy, Napier City Council are pressing on unsubsidised with the four-laning of Primson Drive from the roundabout up to the dual roundabouts, and significant improvements to access to and from their industrial areas. That's being built right now. And I wonder, could just briefly talk about the project, the Napier Port Access project? Yes,
I was just going to allude to that. Through Mr. Chair, the government last year announced funding for to fast track a number of significant projects around the country, and some of that was actual construction funding for projects which were already ready to go, as it were, and just lacking the money. But in our region, it was about $1 million to investigate improvements that are needed to carry that freight increase that Councillor Dick was referring to, that are needed over the next 10 to 20 years, and focusing in particular on the section of the expressway from that Links Road intersection right through to the port. So it's that whole corridor. Now, we've got a project in here which is about improving that intersection, Pakawhai Links Expressway intersection. That's an intermediate solution. It's not a final solution if we continue having the kind of growth that is being predicted. So potentially, and again, it's an investigation that's only just kicking off using that $1 million of special government funding. So I can't presuppose what the solutions are, but it could potentially involve a flyover at that point, bridge widenings, and potentially some four-laning of the expressway. And again, those are only ideas that are floated around. Nothing has been decided, and that investigation kicked off in March.
It'll also focus on impediments and choke points closer to the port and the port gate.
Can I just ask a follow-up question? As I understand it, currently there are something like 8 consents that have either been given or being considered for water bottling activity in various parts of the Aotearoa Plains, involving a total of 3 million cubic metres of water. Are the calculations on increased freight to the port taking those truck movements, which will be in the tens of thousands, into account?
Again, this was a topic of discussion yesterday amongst the technical officers. Certainly, that Napier Port Access project is going to have to look at all the known locations of obviously in the next 10 to 20 years, all sorts of things could happen, but this is one that we know is kicking off, and I understand they have an initial consent for a certain amount of water, and then to extend if it's a commercial success. So yes, those kinds of things have to be taken into consideration, and will have a major influence.
There is a rail siding to the Awatoto one, but we don't know to what extent that's been considered. Sorry.
Councillor Scott.
So I'd just like to pick up on page 19 and 21 to the reference to what this plan is going to deliver on cycling. Can you clarify the relation with the cycle governance group on this? And I have confidence there won't be a double up because we have the same staff member drafting both strategies. But I'd just like to see, I can't find it cross-referenced or anything to that cycle governance group or to their strategy, so I'm just asking how does it fit with what the Land Transport Committee proposing?
Right. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there is somewhere a reference to that a regional cycle plan is under development, and this funding application to NZTA contains those requests that the cycle plan also contains. So the cycle plan really develops in detail what the region is hoping to achieve with cycling. And this strategy, this plan sets out the high-level goals, identifies it as a priority, and then those funding applications are contained in the list. So you will see, the Hastings Highway continuation project, the Napier one, and the Wairoa request, and also the Waipukurau to Waipawa State Highway link. So those are all things that we talk about in more detail in the cycling plan.
Further questions? This has been through quite a process so far, hasn't it?
Mm.
It has.
So is someone ready to take us to the recommendations? As I highlight, recommendation 3 forwards the plan to the New Zealand Transport Agency no later than 30th of April 2015, which by my reckoning is tomorrow. So someone happy to move? You happy to move, Councillor Scott? Thank you. We have a seconder, and thank you, Councillor Pipe. Do you wish to speak?
I would like to express our appreciation of the work that's gone into this. The presentation of the plan, it's easy to read, looks good. Don't think it's as attractive as the cycle one, but it's a matter of graphics and appeal. But it is a good comprehensive document. I really would like to congratulate the Land Transport Committee on pulling this together, but also on being sufficiently visionary to include flagging the alternative use of the rail corridor going north. I think it does show a commitment to seeing that, come what may, out of anything, that we actually maintain some good links to the northern area, and I think that commitment is very commendable. So I am very happy to move that this be adopted.
Seconder, Mr. Smith.
Yeah, very good report. I think it highlights a lot of the challenges that we face with the needs, particularly when it comes to safety needs that of our community and the funding. So keep on plugging on for that funding as best as we can. All the best.
Further speakers?
Can I just offer appreciation to Anne, who's coordinated the TAG group and is the author of the reports, and I believe they're very well put together, very professionally done. Thank you, Anne.
Thanks.
Endorse that as well. Thank you, Councillor Dick. Any other speakers wish to sum up? Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Carried. While you're red hot there, you two, let's continue with the next item, which is Proposed Regional Public Transport Plan 1525. You can take it as read here, but do you have
Yes.
any things?
I'll leave it to Anne to make some
Right.
comments. It's pretty
Okay.
straightforward by comparison.
Yes. Thanks, Mr. Chair. Unless councillors wish me to highlight any particular aspects, I'm just happy to take